Welcome back. So by now you should have your web hosting set up, and if you've gone through the previous video you've possibly got Dreamhost set up there, which is fantastic. So we're now going to go through the process of setting up WordPress on our domain name and our web hosting account. So when you log into Dreamhost, this is the main dashboard here, and these are the toolbox here are probably the main things that you're going to use whilst you're within your Dreamhost account. So when you signed up, Dreamhost would have sent you an email with some FTP details. Now you need to keep this information handy. Those details are so you can load computer files, so files from your computer, up to your web hosting account, and that FTP link is what you need to establish a link between the two so you can transfer files back and forth easily. Dreamhost do offer web FTP, and once you go browsing around your account you may come across it. Now you see down here on this welcome box it's saying you can go and install in just one click, and you can install web blog software. This is something called Fantastico. It is a script that is an automated script that sets everything up for you and ready to go. It takes about 5 minutes to do. Now I am not going to go through this with you, and I'm not a fan of it. As wonderful as automation is, I'm actually not a fan of this. The reason being is that there are so many blogs out there and so many of them use this Fantastico script. Because it's a one-size-fits-all, the chances are that the setup that you have, I know that domain name will be different, but the setup that you have will be pretty much similar to the next person. And this is where the nasty people, those hackers and people who create scripts to damage your website, this is what they do. They know that most websites will have the same setup, so they know exactly where to go within a domain name. So they create a script that will go into domain names in a particular area, and they will go and damage all your files, and they hack and take over your website. It's certainly not pretty. I believe there's three little words. It's security by obscurity. So the harder you make it for these scripts to find you, the less the chances are that they're going to be able to do any damage. So we are going to go through a different way of setting up WordPress. Yes, there are a few extra steps involved, but I'm going to take you through them, and it is certainly not rocket science. You will be able to do this if you follow along with me. If you have any issues, just let me know and we will address them as we go along. So the first thing we need to do is create a MySQL database, and the reason we create a database for WordPress installation is because WordPress stores all the information that you put into WordPress, so your posts and your pages, any links, any media, so any pictures or videos, anything like that, it stores it in tables in a database, so that when your user comes to your site, they want to look at a particular post, WordPress then talks to the database and says, I need this post, it grabs it and then displays it for the user. So it's a fairly basic understanding of how WordPress and database work, so I hope that makes sense to you. But really all you need to know is that WordPress needs a database to store information into. So to do that we go to the MySQL database area, and we're taken to a page where we can create a new MySQL database. Now my page will be more populated compared to yours at the moment because you're fairly new to this, and this was probably your first time that you're doing this. So I'll just walk through what it looks like, because maybe eventually it will look very similar to mine if you really do get into this. So the first area we've got is the host names for the server. Now the host name, it looks like a domain name if you look at one just there, and this domain name actually leads to where you can manage your database, and it uses an application called PHP My Admin, which you can see there, and all it does is it's an administration area or a managing application for you to manage your databases. Chances are you're not going to use it straight away. You may do down the track, so don't concern yourself too much with it, but you do need to make a note of this particular link because you need it to set up a WordPress blog. The next one down is the databases on the server, so the databases that are already existing. So yours will look blank most likely. I hope so anyway. So these are the list of databases that I already have set up and being used at the moment. So yours will appear blank, but mine's a little bit more populated. The next bit we have is the area where we can create a new MySQL database, and this is the area that we are going to need. So the first thing you need to do is type in a database name, and it needs to be all lowercase, and it does need to be one word, but if you need to separate it out, use underscores, okay? So I'm going to just do Amelia Test Database just for the purposes of this video. I'll probably delete it, but just for the video we're going to do that. And we now need to use a host name. Now you probably won't have anything existing there at the moment, so you'll need to select create a new host name now and choose your domain name from the drop down here. So you just choose that domain name, and we need to change this to localhost. So it should read localhost.yourdomainname.com. Okay. We then need to create a username and password sequence. When you go to that particular localhost domain name, you need to log into it. So you need to have login details. So you probably won't have one created there. So just select create a user now, and it does need to be all lowercase, but it needs to be fairly unique. So if you were setting up an account somewhere else, or say like a Twitter account or something like that, you need to create something that's unique to you. Make sure it's all lowercase, otherwise it won't go through, and a password. And you can put it in a database comment, so it's just for you, so that you know what the database was created for. So just recapping everything: a database name, all lowercase, one word; a host name, so localhost.yourdomainname.com, so choosing your domain name from the drop down; creating a new user, so a unique username for you, all lowercase and one word; and of course your password, so something that's memorable to you, and if you want a comment so you know what the database was for. So once you've got all that done, click add new database now, and we should refresh the screen, and we should come up with a big green box. Fantastic, that's exactly what we want to see. If you don't see that, it means that you've made an error somewhere in the creation process, so you would need to come all the way back down here. It will repopulate all this information, but it will highlight what you need to change. So just go through that, and then click enter again, and you should come up with this box. But here we go, we've got our database name there, we've got our host name there, and it says it won't work within take about 5-10 minutes for it to populate, so just give it a little bit of time. But you've got some other things to do between now and then, like grabbing your WordPress software. But just take a note of this local host or this host name that you've created, so either copy and paste it somewhere or write it down, whatever you want to do, and make a note of the username and the password that you created as well. These bits of information you will need for installing WordPress onto your web hosting account. Also take note of the database name, because WordPress needs to know which database it's putting information into. So grab all this information, have it somewhere, whether it's in a little notepad file on your computer, whether you've just got it written down somewhere beside you for the next step, but just make sure you've got that information. You will see your database here created for you, so you'll see this area now populated with something, but you won't see the host name added just yet because it's in the creation process. But yeah, give it about 5 to 10 minutes and that will all be set up. So we now have all the background information required for installation. Make sure it's all written down somewhere so you can access it, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.